There it is, in front of my face. All right, now we're live and in business. All right, hi to everyone who just joined. Good to see you. Happy Friday. Right. Very brief agenda today. We'll go, just reminder on our norms. Hey, Anaris, how are you? I see you popping in. Ms. Lopez is going to lead us through a community builder. And then Mr. Mebalu is here to talk to us about Go Formative. So again, the theme of this week's Chat and Choose has been tech support for families. I'm at 103 responses right now on our communication and tech survey. So thank you to everyone who has filled that out. The tech platforms and the issues we tried to problem solve this week were directly related to the feedback we received in that survey of the platforms and the Google Classroom and Google Gradebook tips that families needed support with. So I really appreciate that and the feedback on communication. So Mr. Mebalu will talk to us a little bit about how we're going to be utilizing this platform in math and science. And then we'll have some time for questions and answers at the end. So our Zoom norms haven't changed. We are recording it so that we can share with other families. That does mean that the chat feed is also recorded. I have now opened the waiting room so everyone can come in if they have the password. It is a password protected meeting. We ask that everybody keep our Zoom passwords private so that we can make sure that we keep these meetings just within our community. As we're going through the presentation, if you've got a question, you've got two options. You can use the raise a hand function and we'll pause so that we can take your question, or you can use the chat feed to type questions that we can come back to at the end. All right, Ms. Lopez, I'm going to turn it over to you for the Guess It game. And you let me know if you want me to click on this link.
I was struggling to log in, everyone. Can you hear me? Can you click on that link, please? So I played this with the 8th graders yesterday. It's like the knockoff Family Feud, and they were very adamant about beating whoever we had. It's actually pretty fast. I didn't put any rules for it, so I won't put any rules for this. You can just press play now. And it's free, so if you're like me and you like Family Feud, you can feel free to play this whenever you feel like it. So it's the same thing. It's like 3 rounds, and then if we do win the 3 rounds, and there's a speed round, there were some...
Sorry, I don't know if you all could hear that audio, but there was an ad and it was really loud. Could you hear that? Thumbs down if you couldn't hear it. Thumbs up if you could. Okay, great. I'll let it keep going and then I'll fix it.
Not a maid.
Amazing. So we are just a family that will feud together and get these questions right because we like to win. Just click play now. And Ms. Strong, you have to type in the answers. You don't like select them. You have to type them in. So no spelling errors.
Okay. Yeah, sorry, I gotta move it over here for me. I hope everyone can still see it.
Yes.
Sport that a person hates to.
Swimming.
Ah!
Marathon or running.
Running.
Soccer.
Ice skating?
Tennis.
What's it called?
Figure skating.
Figure skating.
Or maybe track and field, like decathlon.
Ooh.
Oh.
Mr. Mebelu, what did you say earlier?
Tennis.
Not Tennessee. Am I not
Golf.
spelling the word tennis right?
You are. If it's not there, it's not there. Golf.
Okay.
Track.
Wait. All right. You know what? I cannot believe that it did not accept our answer for track, even though it said like that came up when they showed the answers.
We could share this link with everyone and play at home, but it gets really competitive. We played for an hour and we didn't even notice an hour went by with 8th grade.
Oh my gosh. That would be really good just for like, now that we have to do all of our social events online, like that could be fun just to do with adults. Like,
Don't tell all the staff, but some 8th graders said it was better than Kahoot. Yeah.
and they love Kahoot, so that's saying a lot. Awesome. That was a good one. Thanks, Ms. Lopez. I'll take that into the weekend. Awesome. So again, today's focus is on Go Formative and just sharing with you all what this tool is and how we are beginning to utilize it during remote learning. So the basics, goformative.com. It is a platform that allows students to fully participate in interactive online instruction. It's fully integrated with Google Classroom, and it allows students to show their work. So in math, as opposed to just answering multiple choice questions, Mr. Mebelu is going to talk about how it's helped us see student thinking. Teachers can see students' work in real time while they're using this program, so they can better monitor for understanding. And it helps teachers also be able to give students feedback in the moment on their work. And so we have not fully integrated Go Formative in all of our classes just yet. We've done some teacher training on it. And this week, teachers have been trying it out with small groups of students to just like problem solve tech issues and practice. But our 8th grade in particular, both in math and science, have been utilizing Formative a lot. I'd say it's probably the most full-blown right now in 8th grade math and science. And so I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Mebelu to talk a little bit about how we're using Go Formative in math.
Good afternoon, families. I'm Prince Mebelu. I am the 8th grade math teacher, and I am also the department chair in the math team. And I would like to basically give you all a rendition of how Go Formative is used to help scholars understand most concepts, because we know that like remote learning is not the most immersive education that scholars can get. So what tools did we come up with to basically get these scholars to be able to understand and internalize information? So if you can go to, all right, this is the first slide. So as you see the first slide, you can see that there's a question is asking scholars about rational numbers versus irrational numbers. And the scholars, they all have to input their responses. So it's not like, oh, irrational number is a number that goes on forever and repeats and doesn't repeat, and a rational number is a number that terminates or does not repeat. That's the easiest understanding. However, if you can, I'm not sure if you can see, but Angelique, some of my scholars are very detailed in their explanations, and some scholars are not as detailed in their explanations. Can you go to the next? Can you click over one?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is another question that we asked them since we're talking about rational and irrational numbers. And just to jog your memory, because before I started teaching 8th grade math, I forgot what irrational and rational numbers were. Irrational numbers are numbers that are non-terminating and non-repetitive decimals, while rational numbers are numbers that are terminated, that do terminate, and that have repeating decimals. So 1/3 is a rational number. As you can see, this is some of our scholars' works here. So we can format the Go Formative to automatically give a correct answer if a scholar says, is 8 equals 8 equals 8. Derek is correct. And then we also had an error where it said Irene is correct, so it gave us a misnomer. But I had to go back and input all of those personally. See where Gabby Cummings said that Irene is correct. I had to actually give her some feedback on that. So if you can go to the next slide. As you can see, like, scholars who don't answer the questions don't get points, and scholars who answer the questions that has some of the keywords like Derek and 8 in it, or the square root of 64, is actually automatically corrected. If you can go to the next slide. Now, this is where I'm able to actually select the scholar's name, and I'm actually able to hide all of their names because I would like to present my screen as we're going through the work, and I can just show scholars like, hey, I have seen like 18 out of 33 scholars populate the Go Formative question. But this is actually this is how Go Formative is actually correct. So the scholar that said Irene is correct because a rational number are numbers that don't have square roots, and numbers that have square roots are therefore rational. I can give feedback. I think you're a little confused. A rational number is a number that can be written as a ratio of 2 integers, and that's the feedback portion. This is very rudimentary, but I think that it helps the scholars engage in the content more immersively. If you, this is the end of my presentation. If I want to talk about how Anoop, Ms. Patel does his, you can go to the next one. So with Ms. Patel's Go Formative in Science, as you can see, it has all of the questions. So he had 14 questions in his on his lesson, and most of them was using Punnett squares. So Punnett squares, A, big A, little a, I forget how to say that, homozygous, heterozygous, and differences like that. So he can also give feedback here. So he can type feedback by Kendall Wright Bailey, and he can send it as well. So this is how we're using Go Formative in class to help your scholars actually understand more of the content. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Amebolu, very much. And so I think the big thing that we wanted to show you all is just, I think, really well represented in the slides that Mr. Amebolu was projecting. When scholars are in virtual class, you know, if teachers can't be circulating the room to look over their shoulders and see if they're on the right track. It's been like one of the most challenging things with remote learning. And so this tool is largely used in virtual class as a way where this updates in real time. And so Mr. Amebolu will say, all right, everybody, we're gonna work on number 1. Like, everybody's got 4 minutes. And then on the teacher side of the screen, you can see in real time students explaining their thinking, students actually completing the math, because they can, depending on what the problem's asking, they can use their mouse to literally like draw out their work like they would with a pencil. And so it's been really, really, I think, transformative in terms of engagement for students, because they're able to know whether they're getting automatic feedback, whether they're on the right track. And it also just helps the teachers, again, they can give private feedback, or they can say, hey, I'm noticing this thing's happening with a lot of students' work. Let's talk about it. And so our ask just on your end is not really anything except that, you know, ask your scholar, particularly if they're in 8th grade, how things are going with Go Formative. If you are around when they're in virtual class and the teacher is teaching a lesson on Go Formative, encouraging your scholar to bring it up and show you their work. You can also see the feedback the teachers are giving. We are looking to get this launched fully in all of our math and science classrooms, but we're also trying to be responsive and acknowledge that there's a tech learning curve for all of us, and particularly for our students in the younger grades. We want to make sure any new tech we roll out slowly and we give them enough time to practice so that nobody gets lost. But we wanted to make sure that we shared with you all a little bit about Go Formative and how we're utilizing it and what you can expect to be seeing with your scholars' work as we fully integrate this in our STEM classes. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to you all, either for questions about Go Formative, or if you have questions about other ed tech platforms that we haven't covered this week, we're happy to answer those as well. So you can either come off mute and ask those. Hey, Mr. Patel, I see you coming in now too. That's awesome. He's here and can address some questions about science if you have those. Yes, I see that there are. I want to acknowledge that in my effort to be responsive and move our chat and chew to the afternoon, I actually double booked us with the after school gala. So I know that some parents may need to hop off of here and hop on to there if you've RSVP'd for the gala. Again, I apologize for that. I didn't realize I was going to overlap it when I moved from midday to afternoon. So please, I understand if you've got to hop off and head over there. Let's see, I'm not seeing, and Joanne, yeah, I see that. We need to, Miss Lopez and I need to look into that. Miss Lopez, did you see the comment from Miss Kennedy about Unity meeting this week?
Yeah, I'll look into that right now.
We'll make sure we get that fixed. Awesome. The floor is open as well, folks. I know that you may have other questions that are not tech related about things that have come up this week. You can type them in the chat or you can go ahead and come off mute. We're happy to address those as well, not just our tech questions. Ms. Giles, I see you asking, can parents see the data, grades, and progress on Go Formative like on Newsela? Mr. Patel, can you speak at all to what parents can see through Go Formative?
Unfortunately, the part for formative, the data that we could see is on the teacher end. How you folks could see it is through the Google Classroom. That's where we're going to put the grades for that. Go Formative should be using in classes, like during class. It helps us to see their thinking like in the moment, and that way we can like kind of give them feedback in the moment. There might be a way that I can look into exporting data to like an Excel spreadsheet now that I think about it, and I'll look into it a little more.
Awesome. Absolutely. if there aren't any other questions specifically about Go Formative or math and science, what I can do is review some of the other announcements that we went over in our chat and chew on Wednesday. If anybody has questions about trimester 2 report cards that have been coming out or the grading policy, we can review those. And if no one has any other Go Formative or tech questions, I'm going to go ahead and let Mr. Amebolu and Mr. Patel hop off of here. Joanne, great question. As we learn more about what the platform can do, we might find ways to be able to integrate an ELA and history. Trying to do a slow roll right now, both with like getting teachers acclimated and getting students acclimated. But yeah, it definitely might be coming. Math and science on Fridays. Yes. So just for clarity, math and science are assigning 5 days worth of content, but the virtual class schedule on Fridays does not include math and science virtual class. It is still heavily focused on pedals. So what is built into the Friday schedule is work time for students to complete those assignments for math and science. And then there are office hours in the afternoons, just like we have every day, from 2 to 3, office hours in small groups, for students to come and get support if they were confused on the task that they needed to complete that day. Mr. Meblu or Mr. Patel, I don't know if you want to add anything additional about Math or Science Friday work.
I think that you hit the nail on the head.
Yeah, one thing I would add is what we are trying to norm in science is on Friday. Friday is really like like for the kids to take it all and synthesize everything and put it all together. So it's more of a review day. A lot of the work on Friday is like more of a review of what they learned that week, and we're really focusing on having kids come to office hours if they've had trouble with any of the content from the week on Friday.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Mr. Patel and Mr. Ameblu. If you all want to go ahead and hop off, we appreciate your time. Thank you for coming by and telling us a little about Go Formative. Awesome. And in the last few minutes before because I'm going to go hop over to after school too, so I can see the awesome things that are happening. There have not been any major updates again since Wednesday. I believe most of you were at our Wednesday chat and chew. I'll be posting the video and the slide deck. I'll put them on Facebook. I'll also send them out in my Monday email. I've got to do a little work on clipping the end of my video from Wednesday. Learning all kinds of tech tools. I could be a YouTuber when this is over, but I'm not going to be. But I appreciate you all stopping by and learning about Go Formative. And if there are other things that you want us to cover next week in our chat and choose, as always, we're open to your feedback. We want to make sure to get you the information that you're looking for. And we always appreciate you stopping by and taking time to chat. Awesome. Have a great weekend, everyone. See ya. If I can figure out what I'm doing here.